Willie D. Live.
That's a very dangerous idea. And so what I'm proposing is not that we leave these people to the wolves. What I'm proposing is that we allow the wise men, the elders, the successful men in our tribe, we take care of ours, they take care of theirs, you take care of yours, and we'll be fine. And what will happen is that there will be a different level of shame of making those poor decisions where you're in a house with no man, or you decided to have more children than you can afford, and it will reorient our values and our foci. I'm telling you, I grew up in a ghetto, and I was the poorest kid in the ghetto, and mostly I kept getting evicted. It's mostly because, when your parents have a habit, even if they got the Section 8, they still ain't gonna pay that $15 that they gotta pay. And so I've seen it from the very bottom. And I know that if black kids in the ghetto can still afford Jordans, and I know because I got made fun of because I ain't had none, so I know everybody else had them, right? If they can still afford to smoke marijuana, if my mom could afford to have a habit, and my mom's a lovely woman, she got swept up in the 1980s, she's not the only one, right? So if all those things are still affordable, we know that there's a little bit of give. And we know that there's a lot of churches, especially here in the South, that can pick up that slack. If you can give 10% to your church, the question is, what you giving back? The problem is the churches ain't gave back enough. And many of them have failed, not only the churches, the mosques as well. And so I think that we need to truly believe in ourselves and do for ourselves. And I speak directly of capitalism. A lot of black folks are like, oh, capitalism doesn't work. No, it works. You need to understand it. It's like the girl who can't dance. She blames the DJ. Nah, baby, the DJ is spinning them records. You heard me? He playing that stuff. You can't dance. You just need to learn how to dance.
We talk a lot, not just me and you, but people in general talk a lot about how women allow the government to play them and trick them out of position with their husbands and the father of their children. But there's two sides to every coin, and that takes two to tango. We were forced out of the house because otherwise the woman wouldn't have been able to get the benefits. But we didn't have to leave. A lot of us left. Some of us stayed though. Sure. And those who stayed, salute. They don't get enough credit.
Right.
They said, you know what? I'm staying. The woman said, we riding this out together. Goddamn, if we sink, we're gonna sink together. All of us. But many more people, they were desperate and they fell for the okie doke, not realizing the damage that was going to be done long term to our families. So what type of responsibility does the man bear in, the degradation of the black community, and the destruction of our communities?
Good question, and the women love this particular question. You heard me, because this is where they get to be like, no, it's really that. And it's complex because it's 100% the man's fault. But when things go wrong, the woman suffers at a greater level. People ask me, Marquett, why do you talk about female promiscuity so much? I say because if I'm promiscuous and the woman is promiscuous and she gets left with 4 kids that maybe they're mine, I go off and start a whole new life. You heard me? Like from scratch. Find a younger woman, better looking woman, smarter woman, wealthier woman, and just act like that never happened. Whereas the woman generally doesn't do that. She has to live with the bad decisions that she made and the man made. So when I discourage promiscuity in the females, because you're gonna suffer at a greater level. And chemically, the oxytocin that's released in the body from that pregnancy is gonna bind you with that child. You might be pregnant with that child and you can feel life within your body and the child is being nourished from your body. You're connected at a great level. Meanwhile, this is in the club right now. You hear me? Lit. You're trying to see what he could see for the night. So it's a totally different reality. And the problem is that black women really are liberal white women. So they're just the acolytes of liberal white women. So they're living out liberal white woman ideology, thinking and behaving as though you're the same as the man when really you're not. The consequences are wildly different. You're going to age different. Your options on the marketplace of dating and marriage are different. And the fact of the matter is black women, they become educated, and which is to say they go to university and they become more like liberal white women. And they have this silly ideology of I'm gonna be independent. It's like, love, you don't have the same history as the white woman. When the slave master was dominating, I trust he was dominating the woman as well. And he was a real patriarch over time. When we were here in the hells of North America enslaved, you weren't getting dominated by the black man. What you need to get independent from, love? When you came out of slavery, were you being dominated, for decades on end by the black man? No, the black man was barely in control of himself. He wasn't dominant in the society. And what do you mean you want to get out and be independent? Were you a homemaker? Were you a stay-at-home mom? Probably not, because black people mostly never had incomes like that to sustain that life model at large scale. So you're basically rebelling against something that never was real in your life.